grave of Benjamin Moran sits in the grounds of a 15th century church in the small Essex village of Panfield. Benjamin was born on the 1st of August 1820 in West Marlborough Township, Chester County, Pennsylvania. His father William was a cotton manufacturer in Doe Run, while his mother ran the family home. Benjamin received a good public school education, during which he developed a marked interest in literature. Upon leaving school, he entered the employment of a Philadelphia printer to learn the trade. It was here that he came into frequent contact with authors. These acquaintances made him determined to become a writer. On the 8th of May 1851, he applied for a passport with a dream of travelling around Great Britain on foot while documenting it in a journal. Benjamin left his job and prepared to board the Lafayette steamship at Pine Street Wharf to start his 20-day trip across the Atlantic. May 30th, 1851, and Benjamin arrives in Ireland. Over the next year, he travels through Scotland, England, Ireland and Wales, filling his journey with fascinating details about the people and the places he stayed. On his travels, he visits many famous graves, from William Shakespeare to Byron. While in London, he visits Madame Tussauds and the British Museum. He is particularly fond of London. It's while staying at a boarding house in Little Britain that he first makes his acquaintance with a woman called Catherine Gawder, the daughter of a Norfolk miller, who is employed nearby as a servant. It was on March 15, 1852, that Benjamin and Catherine married at St Botolph Church, Aldgate. Benjamin and his new wife returned to Philadelphia, where his travel journal was published by Lippincott & Co. Unfortunately, the book made very little impact. Benjamin was strongly attracted to living in England and returned in 1853. He secured employment as a temporary clerk at the American legation, perhaps because James Buchanan, then minister, had known his father through business connections. In 1854, he became Buchanan's private secretary, and when his chief retired, was appointed permanent clerk on his recommendation. He proved himself an indispensable worker and gained an exceptional knowledge of the archives. In 1856, John Buchanan had successfully run for the US presidency. In 1857, Benjamin was named Assistant Secretary of Legation. He also started to keep a private journal, which would later become of interest, mainly because it documents how the US Civil War was viewed in Britain. By the end of 1858, Benjamin was co-owner of the London-based Spectator magazine, which he used to promote President Buchanan's views against a generally hostile British press. His co-owner was John McHenry, an American businessman who also was based in London. They arranged the purchase through a nominee, Thornton Leigh Hunt, to disguise their connection. They dramatically altered the tone of the magazine. Its circulation declined substantially, and there were several occasions when both men had to pump additional funds into the venture. Having paid £4,200 for it, they sold it for £2,000 in January 1861, by which time Abraham Lincoln had taken over from Buchanan. By 1864, Benjamin was now secretary, a post he held until the end of 1874. Benjamin exercised considerable influence on the diplomatic relations between the United States and Great Britain. In December 1874, in recognition of his services, he was named Minister Resident to Portugal, the first occasion on thus an American Secretary of Legation had been promoted. When that office was discontinued in 1876, he became Charge d'Affaires at Lisbon, filling the position until 1882, when he resigned, incapacitated by paralysis and a widower. He returned to England and made his home with an intimate friend, Joshua Nunn, former American Vice Consul in Bocking Hall, Braintree. Upon Benjamin's death on the 20th of June 1886, Joshua Nunn fulfilled a promise he'd made to him. He sent a portrait of Benjamin to his sister Mary and presented a portrait of George Washington to the city of Philadelphia, along with his journals, with the stipulation that they not be published until at least 5 years after his death. The journals of Benjamin Moran were published by the University of Chicago Press in 1948. They are considered of important historical significance due to his narration of the diplomatic history of the period. Benjamin was described as an accomplished diplomat who raised himself to that position by his own efforts without money or influential friends. Benjamin's estate was worth £419, which was left to his sister Mary. Benjamin is buried in St Mary and St Christopher Churchyard, Panfield, Essex. If you find cemeteries as interesting as we do and enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to make sure you're notified of our next upload.